What is going on, all of you indie game and emotional storytelling fans out there in the world? I'm Mega so thank you for watching this review video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, I appreciate you stopping by, and this is going to be a bit of a different review video than I normally do. I don't anticipate this being very long, especially because there's not a lot to talk about this game. And the other thing with this game is that it's one of those games that I really don't want to get too into the specifics of. I mean, that's going to be most of this video, but at the very beginning, you should all play this for the first time without me telling you exactly what it is. All I will tell you right now, we're going to do non-spoilers for like a couple minutes, and then the rest is going to be flat out spoilers because it's one of those games. So let's start with the non-spoilery part. Basic premise of the game: it is a visual novel. It is only going to take you about an hour to play through, and at least on the US eShop as of this moment, it is $5 US. So very cheap game, only an hour long. But what it presents to the table is really its narrative. It is an extremely emotional story that some of you may find too real. So, if you're one who's very vulnerable to stuff like that, then maybe this isn't the game for you, or maybe this is the game for you because you can emotionally connect to it. It definitely, I mean, it's being standard visual, I don't want to say standard visual novel, it's a short visual novel with some interesting ways to interact and progress the story. There's not a lot of dialogue in this game. It's very visual heavy, and it relies a lot on the audio. The audio is really well done in this game, and it really made me think and feel in certain ways. It has a lot of dark moments. It has some positive moments. It really takes you on this emotional roller coaster, literally in several instances. And like I said, I don't want to get too into the specifics, but you play as the girl you can see here. I'm not going to say what and Roger means, but it is, it's integrated into the story somehow. And like I said, the story is the highlight here. For those of you expecting an in-depth visual novel with a lot of gameplay, you're not going to find that here. What you are going to find here is a gripping story that, yeah, you could watch on YouTube for like an hour, sure, but the interactivity and the audio experience really make this game worth playing. If you just watch it on YouTube, you could do that, but you're going to miss half of what the game is actually about, because those interactive moments that are here are very well done, and in a way that kind of also accentuate the emotions happening in the audio playing in the game while you're interacting with whatever elements it is. But like I said, pretty simple in terms of the game length and the gameplay, but I definitely was thinking a lot about this ending afterwards, and it's open to interpretations. The game doesn't tell you outright certain stuff. It's a kind of it's not a connected timeline. There's multiple different events from the past and the future and the present going on and kind of broken up throughout the game. But that's all I'm going to say about that. It's definitely a gripping tale. I don't want to say too much, but if you are a fan of like short, concise experiences that have like, especially, there's been visual novels like this before that are very quick kind of things to tell. The one that comes to mind for me is like a Toki Doki Literature Club. Not quite that. This game I would not say has quite as much replayability. It's a lot shorter than Doki Doki Literature Club. Not that the game's super long, and I don't believe there's multiple endings, but I could be wrong. But that is, something to think about. If you're a fan of those kinds of games, maybe give it a shot. It's literally $5, and it has a really emotional and compelling story to tell. Just be prepared, because you might cry while playing this. I certainly was on the verge of tears at a couple different moments here and was definitely a little shook. But yeah, it was a fun time. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody, but if you're a fan of those types of games, definitely give it a shot. That's all I'm going to say for the non-spoiler part, because I'm going to dive right into the spoilers. I'm going to show the trailer footage. So, like I said, if you have not played this game and you have any interest in playing it, click away from this video, go pick up the game on whatever storefront you want and play it, because this is a game you need to play to experience, and I don't want to spoil any of it for you if you even intend a tiny bit on playing it. So I will give you a few seconds to click away before I dive into full-on spoilers here. All right, I figured having the Tunic soundtrack in the background would help ease some things here. So let's talk about this game. A lot of it comes down to the different button presses that come up during the gameplay, and in a lot of ways, for example, the toothbrush scene is a perfect example of like switching off between right and left to like switch the toothbrush, like little things like that. But this game really highlights the hardships in life while also reminding you of the bright things, and that honestly love triumphs all is kind of the motto here, with the whole Roger plot and everything. Yeah, this game really hit me hard. A lot of themes supposedly hitting on like depression and anxiety, and honestly, like I don't know, like memory loss a little bit, and like I don't know the exact name of the condition that the girl here is going through, but it's definitely not great, and she definitely has a bit of an identity crisis in moments. I believe it's a specific like mental condition, but I could be wrong about that. Please correct me if I am wrong about that. But the interactivity is nothing like super in depth, like I said, but like each chapter has its own unique way of like moving the circles, whether pressing or dragging along a line. And there's some fun ones here and there, especially at the beginning. Near the end, it really starts to focus on the story and the reveals, which, from what I understand, Roger is supposed to be. It's this is how I interpreted the story, and let me know if you've played this game, which hopefully you have at this point. Let me know how you interpret it in the comments below, because from what I interpreted it as, is that Roger, who was her love interest for sure, was almost like a father figure to her. I think from what I understand, this is my interpretation, is that her father passed away when she was young. And, you know, she sees this strange man who she has no idea who she is when she's in her child form. But they kind of, near the end, they flash between the strange man and Roger when she's older. So I think that strange man is supposed to be Roger. And she kind of reverts to her child self almost, especially because he's trying to get her to take the pills for her condition, and she doesn't want to, which obviously we find out she has later, especially after going into like a assisted facility later on in the game near the end. And yeah, she definitely struggles with a bit of memory loss, but the end is kind of sweet because it's like, yeah, she doesn't remember Roger. She thinks he's familiar, but she's also like, yeah, I want to go hang out with you, you know? And it's like I said, love triumphs all. There's a bit of like religious undertones to this game, which some of you may not be the biggest fan of. I'm not a religious person myself, but I think the way they do it, they don't like shove it down your throat. It's like believable, right? You have people who believe in that sort of stuff. You're going to come across people with faith, right? And so I think it's represented well without like, you know, forcing religion down your throat for people who are atheists, you know, or of a different religion. I think they do a well enough job of balancing that out and not making it feel like it's being forced. Personally, is how I thought about it. The use of color is really great, especially like, yeah, the two of them, you know, together, like the different colors, and then like the early darker colors, and then like both of those kind of coming into play near the very end of the game. It's definitely a, I was definitely terrified, especially I mean, early on it felt like a horror game, to be honest. But it's really just like dealing with that darker side and not fully understanding who you are and what's going on. But it's definitely, I don't know, it's very interesting to how they tell a story here, and like the different chunks, like I mentioned earlier, putting them together in a certain sequence that you kind of figure out where the pieces are. The bakery they go to for comfort, Roger as a person. One thing I still don't understand is if Roger does leave, you know, I'm not sure if that's like a thing he actually does, or in her subconscious he leaves her. Like, I don't fully understand. I mean, she's very dependent on him for sure, based on what the story this game is telling is. So it may just be he's like running errands or something. Like, I don't know. You know, there's definitely a lot of this game that's open to interpretation. Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But I was actually recommended this game from, shout out to the Indie Council podcast. They said this was a must play, and I'm like, okay, like if an indie game's a must play, you know, they shouted it out. Game Informer shouted it out on their podcast, and I'm like, okay, like let me give this a shot. It was literally $5. It literally took me an hour to get through. I did the whole thing in one session yesterday, as of this recording. And here's the thing: would I say I'm glad I played it? I don't know, because I personally can't relate to the situation going on. It is a gripping narrative, and the game tells it really well. But especially with a game like this, I don't feel like you're seeing here, my eyes have been opened up to anything really by playing this game, and maybe that's bad to say, I don't know, but I just, like, because I couldn't really connect, like, these felt like fictional characters to me, whereas if you've been through any experiences like this, I'm sure you could relate, and I'm sure this would really speak to you. As someone who hasn't gone through those experiences, at least yet personally, it's like, you know, I think that there was some disconnect there, which made me, like, not... I didn't love the game, but I didn't hate it. It was like, it wasn't a waste of time. It just, yeah, it's hard to recommend, especially because it's such a niche audience. It's such a short game. And like, I feel like you're best off playing this if you can connect to any of the themes here. But then again, you don't want to talk about the themes with people because you don't want to spoil the premise of the game. So it's kind of this tough balance that I don't know. Like it did not feel like I wasted my hour playing this. Like I said, it's only an hour, it's only $5. And what it does do in that time is honestly pretty immersive for like the simplicity of it. It's just definitely like, maybe not for me is the right word. I don't know, but it was an engaging experience. Like, I don't feel like I had to have played this. Like, this wasn't a must play for me personally, but I did think what was here was really, really compelling. And just to summarize all of this without going into spoilers more, actually, let me click away back to the picture before I do that. Just to summarize the game overall before ending this video. Yeah, it didn't fully click with me in terms of the story concept, which it didn't waste my time necessarily, but it didn't fully connect with me, and so I feel like I didn't get as much value as some people who would have, you know, been able to connect with these themes more would. But like, what was here was a compelling story. The way it kind of combines the visual novel elements with like the interactivity of it all, and like how that kind of, the interactivity was interesting because the way it related to the gameplay, like or I should say the visuals happening in the story and the audio too, was really, really cool. Like the presentation here is top notch, even though on the surface it is simplistic. It is very, very in depth and kind of goes well together. You know, but definitely you would maybe personally connect with this more, you know, and enjoy it more if you could connect with it. But hey, for $5 and you know, an hour of my time, you know, I'm glad to have experienced it. You know, I'm glad to check out little niche indie games like this. You know, that's kind of my goal going forward. And this is one that if you like this style of like short visual novel with a really compelling story and some interactive elements, like this is a must play for sure. But something to keep in mind going forward is that it's very real topics in this game, and, you know, may be a little triggering for some people. So just something to keep in mind here. Especially when it comes to things like mental health and abuse, something to keep in mind. But overall, I would recommend this game if you don't mind those things, and if you feel like you personally connect to this style of game and the story it has to tell. Definitely would recommend giving it a shot, right? $5, 1 hour, not too much of your time. But with that, that's going to do it for this quick little review, quick for my standards, I should say, on the game and Roger. This is out on Switch. I think it's out on PC. I think other platforms. I could be wrong. Definitely double check me. Like I said, $5 an hour of your time. So definitely give it a shot if you're into this sort of game. But with that, thank you so much for watching this quick little review video. Let me know in the comments below. Please keep it spoiler free. You know, what do you think about this game? It's hard to tell, right? It's without getting into spoilers, but please no spoilers for people who haven't played it in the chat. Let me know if you're going to give this one a shot, or if you have, let me know your non-spoiler thoughts. But with that, thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, stay safe, keep on gaming.